Something's off, Emma thought as she glanced across the restaurant floor, her sharp eyes locking onto the sill, seated in the corner booth. The hum of conversation and the clink of glasses faded into the background, but her focus remained on him. Matthew Anderson, a man who seemed untouchable, his cold demeanor never wavering, was the last person she expected to need help. She was just a waitress, after all, a woman in a black apron with an order pad in hand, invisible to those who walked the high halls of power. Yet, there was something in the air tonight, something that made her gut twist with unease. He was deep in conversation, his voice low, and as she moved past his table, the faintest flicker of unease passed through her. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. It was almost as if the man was sitting at the edge of a dangerous precipice, unaware of the fall awaiting him. As Emma made her way back to the kitchen, she couldn't get rid of the feeling that someone, was about to cross his path in a way that would change everything. She'd seen the signs before, when a stranger shifts their gaze too much, when the tone of a conversation shifts ever so slightly, when a person's posture is just a little too stiff. And in that instant, she knew it wasn't just her imagination. Matthew wasn't alone. He was surrounded by a group of people, business partners, no doubt, and from the way they were leaning in, whispering, and gesturing in a way that didn't match the rest of the quiet room, Emma felt the tension in the air. She didn't know the details, but she knew something was happening, and she knew she was the only one who had noticed. Most of the staff was too busy with their own tables to care, but Emma had learned to pay attention to the smallest things, the flicker of someone's eyes, the sudden shift in energy. And right now, that energy around Matthew felt all wrong. She paused, weighing her options. She could turn back to the kitchen and ignore it, pretend she didn't see anything. After all, it wasn't her business. But as she turned to walk away, she caught sight of something she couldn't unsee. A man in the corner, one of Matthew's associates, glanced over at the door as if waiting for someone. His eyes flicked back to the group, narrowing suspiciously. Something wasn't right. Without thinking, Emma turned around and walked back toward Matthew's table. She approached him quietly, trying to remain as unnoticed as possible, but her mind was racing. She had to act fast. As she neared the table, the conversation shifted, a key word rising above the rest. Emma knew enough to know that it was the signal, the moment when things were about to go south. "Excuse me, sir," Emma said, her voice calm but firm as she approached Matthew's table. He glanced up, startled. He hadn't expected a waitress to interrupt, let alone speak with such authority. "I don't mean to intrude," she continued, her eyes locking onto his with a calm intensity. "But the deal you're discussing, there's something off about it. It's not just the paperwork. You need to be careful." Matthew stared at her for a long moment, his surprise evident. Most waitresses would have scurried away. Most people wouldn't have had the nerve to interrupt his meeting. But here she was, calm and unbothered, warning him. A slight chuckle escaped his lips, but there was something in his eyes now, something different, curiosity, maybe even respect. "And why should I listen to you?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. Emma paused, feeling the weight of the room shift. "Because you're about to make a deal that could cost you more than just money," she said, her voice quieter now. "And it's not what you think." Matthew's gaze faltered slightly as he considered her words. He could have brushed her off, dismissed her as just another waitress. But something in the way she carried herself made him hesitate. He had to admit, he hadn't expected this. The waitress, the invisible one, had just stopped him from making a fatal mistake. Emma stepped back slowly, her eyes meeting his one last time. She had done what she needed to do. Now, it was up to him to listen, or not. Emma could feel the weight of Matthew's gaze lingering on her as she walked back to the kitchen. His usual confidence, the kind that commanded attention without effort, was replaced by something else. Uncertainty, maybe even curiosity. It wasn't often someone like him took a waitress seriously, let alone listened to her. The tension in the air lingered, but Emma had already pushed it out of her mind. She had done what she could. Now, it was up to him to act on it. She moved quickly between the tables, her hands steady as she carried the next round of drinks, trying to focus on the task at hand. But her thoughts kept drifting back to the moment at Matthew's table. She had been sharp, maybe too sharp. What if he decided she was just a troublemaker? What if she lost her job over this? But something inside her told her she had done the right thing. Her instincts had never failed her before. Matthew's group was still deep in discussion when she passed by again. This time, he was no longer the arrogant man she had seen earlier. His posture had shifted. He looked thoughtful, which was a far cry from the cold, detached figure he had been. As she moved past his table again, he looked up and caught her eye. He didn't say anything at first, but she could see the wheels turning in his head. His mouth opened, then closed again as if weighing his words. "I've been thinking about what you said," he said quietly, enough for only her to hear. Emma froze, not expecting the conversation to continue. "You were right. There's something off with the deal. I should have paid more attention to the details." Emma nodded, unsure of what to say. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She was just a waitress, nothing more. I'm sorry to interrupt your meeting earlier. I just didn't want you to get caught off guard, she said, her voice softer now. Matthew smiled, a slight, almost imperceptible smile that seemed out of place on his usually stern face. You did more than that. You saved me from making a huge mistake. I owe you one. Emma was taken aback. She had never expected this kind of response. She had done her job, nothing more, nothing less. But here he was, acknowledging her in a way no one ever had. I wasn't trying to do anything special, just wanted to help, she replied, unsure of how to respond to the sincerity in his voice. For a moment, there was an awkward silence between them. Matthew shifted in his seat, his expression more relaxed than before. He glanced down at the table, then back at her, as if making a decision. I'd like to continue this conversation, he said. Would you join me for a drink after your shift? I'd like to hear more about your thoughts. You seem to know a lot about what's going on in the market. Emma hesitated. This wasn't part of her plan. She wasn't in this business to mingle with billionaires, but there was something compelling about the way Matthew spoke. I don't usually, after work, she started, unsure of how to handle the situation. It's just a drink. Nothing fancy. I'm curious to hear your perspective, Matthew added, sensing her hesitation. Emma's mind raced. She could feel the pull of the opportunity, the chance to step out of her ordinary life and into a world that seemed so far removed from her own. But she knew better than to mix work with anything else. I appreciate the offer, but I'm just a waitress. You probably have better people to talk to, she said, trying to keep things professional. You might be surprised, Matthew said with a smile, his tone light, but with a hint of respect. Emma wasn't sure what to make of that. She hadn't expected a billionaire to be so humble, so willing to listen. She shook her head, trying to clear her thoughts. Thank you, but I'm fine. I'll stick to serving, she replied, her voice steady. For a moment, Matthew said nothing. Then he nodded slowly. Fair enough, he said. But if you change your mind, the offer stands. Emma gave him a small smile before turning away, moving back toward the kitchen with a sense of relief. She didn't know what to make of the encounter, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she had been seen for something more than just a waitress. The next few days passed in a blur for Emma. Her thoughts kept drifting back to the brief conversation with Matthew Anderson. She wasn't used to being noticed like that, especially not by someone like him. She had done her job, and that was it. But somehow, he had seen something in her. She could feel his words lingering, the offer hanging in the air like a challenge she wasn't sure she was ready to accept. As the week went on, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. She had always prided herself on keeping her life simple, focused on her work and her responsibilities. But now, she was questioning her own instincts. That night, as she prepared for another shift, Emma stood in front of the mirror in the employee locker room, adjusting her apron, running a hand through her hair. She glanced at the clock. There were still a few hours before her shift ended, but she couldn't stop thinking about the invitation. Her mind raced. Should she go? What would it mean if she did? She wasn't sure she was ready to cross that line, to let herself get involved in a world she didn't belong to. But at the same time, something inside her told her that she had to know more. Matthew's offer was more than just an invitation for a drink. It was an opportunity to step out of the life she had always known, a chance to step into something bigger. Emma shook her head, trying to shake off the uncertainty. She had made her decision the other night. No, she wasn't going to change her mind. She wasn't going to let a few words from a powerful CEO shake her to her core. But as the night wore on, and the restaurant became busier with each passing minute, she found herself stealing glances at the table where Matthew was seated. He was there again, with a different group this time, but he still looked the same. Powerful, confident, and seemingly unaffected by everything around him. Emma focused on her duties, making sure everything was in order. But every time she crossed paths with him, she couldn't help but notice the way he watched her. His gaze wasn't the same as it had been before. This time, it was more deliberate, more thoughtful. It was clear that he was still thinking about their conversation. By the time her shift came to an end, Emma found herself standing at the employee exit, her bag slung over her shoulder, her mind still conflicted. Should she go? It felt like she was standing at a crossroads, unsure of which path to take. As she stepped out into the cool evening air, she heard the sound of footsteps behind her. She turned to see Matthew approaching. He wasn't in his usual suit, but still looked effortlessly put together, his posture straight and confident. Emma, he said, his voice smooth and calm. I was hoping we could continue our conversation. Trying to keep the conversation going without revealing too much. Matthew shrugged slightly, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his lips. You're too sharp, too observant. People like you, they don't just stay in one place forever. They move up. Emma felt a surge of discomfort. She wasn't used to being talked about like this. Sure, she knew she was capable, but what did it matter? This was her life, her reality. I'm fine where I am, she said, her voice steady, though there was a part of her that felt like she was lying. I don't need to move up. She wasn't sure if she was convincing herself or Matthew. They reached a quiet corner where the noise of the city faded into the background, replaced by the distant hum of traffic. Matthew stopped walking and turned to face her. You know, I've spent my whole life moving up, constantly chasing the next big thing, the next deal, he said, his voice softening. But sometimes, it's the people who don't chase that end up making the biggest impact. Emma looked at him, sensing the vulnerability beneath his words. She had expected him to be all business, all strategy. But here he was, talking about life in a way she didn't expect. I don't know what I'm supposed to say to that, Emma replied honestly. I don't know what kind of impact I could make. I'm just trying to get by. Matthew's gaze softened, and for the first time since they had met, Emma saw a hint of something more than just the CEO in front of her. You'd be surprised, he said quietly. You have more to offer than you think. Emma felt a flicker of something inside her, a mix of disbelief and curiosity. Could it be true? Could she really be more than just the quiet waitress at a restaurant in Manhattan? I've been thinking about that night, Matthew continued, his voice almost hesitant. About what you said, and I think you might be right. There's more at play here than I realized. Emma raised an eyebrow, surprised. I didn't expect you to take it so seriously, she said, her tone light but tinged with uncertainty. Matthew smiled, but it wasn't the confident, self-assured smile she had seen before. This one was softer, almost self-deprecating. I don't take advice from just anyone.